Hello, my name is Donna Kendrick, and this presentation is for EDUC 703, and it is on Mary McLeod Bethune. Mary McLeod Bethune was a political activist. She worked to make sure that African Americans were involved in social and educational areas. She was also a self-starter, she was an author, and an educator. She was born in 1875 in South Carolina. Her parents were previous slaves, and she had opportunities to attend several different schools, and this helped develop her character and for her to build upon a life of understanding the importance of education. She wanted to ensure that African Americans, especially females, were involved with education. Her philosophy of education was built upon the United States democratic principles. She wanted to make sure that all females, African American females, I should say, had the right to a formal education. She thought that it was important for skills that were taught in schools were building students to help them be successful in society. And she wanted to make sure that all students had an equitable access to education. So what did she do in education? What were some of her accomplishments? Well, with $1.50 and 5 students who were female, ages 8 through 12 years old, she started a school in Daytona, Florida. And through this school, she built it and needed to fundraise, and she asked her white friends and African American friends to help her build this school and continue to develop it so that African Americans could have a right to attend school. And then she wanted to make sure, as once again was said, that they had the opportunity to learn things that helped promote them to have lifelong skills. One of the things that she promoted was basket weaving. Of course, we might not see that in today's classrooms, but it was very important to her at the time. She also saw that there was a need for the hospital and for African Americans to have the same type of care as white Americans. So she built a hospital. But then she realized that there was not any training for African American nurses. So she built a school that would train African Americans to become nurses. Her school that she once founded later on became Bethune-Cookman University, and that was the first co-educational school for African Americans. She saw a need in Florida and Daytona in her community that there was African American adults who could not read. So what did she do? She created literacy courses so that they would be able to attend the courses and learn how to read and become literate. She wanted to make sure that any committee that she was on or a part of had an educational committee, and there was a particular one called the International Council of Women of the Darker Races, and she set up an educational committee, and she wanted to make sure that she was advocating for Black women's voices to be heard, for their accomplishments to be known. She worked during a time of the Progressive era, and this is the time when children were able to go to public schools for a full day, depending upon their age, and African American women became played more of a role in their child's education. They also needed a role in society, and then later on they became more involved in the political realm. Lots of people were viewed Mary Bethune as having such a great role in this during this progressive era and during her lifetime. She was viewed as known as a female the female version of Booker T. Washington. She wanted to make sure that she reached out to as many people that she could. She served on a panel for Franklin Delano Roosevelt when he was president. She also had a service award designed in her name by Carter G. Woodson. And then later on, a monument was established in Lincoln Park of Mary Bethune. And then she had the honor, even though it was after her death, to have a statue in Statuary Hall in the U.S. Capitol building. So she really had a great influence on education and the way the policies and procedures were changed for African Americans, especially females.